Now, talking about drinking, like I say, we had a lot of Polish people around there. Some of them drink alcohol. Pure
Yes.
alcohol. And my uncle had a neighbor, they always visit together, you know, and this here Polish neighbor came home from town. Of course, he was working right side of the road, and he stopped and they visited a while, and of course they always had the jug. Them days, you know, you take your jug into the grocery store and they fill it up with alcohol or whiskey, whatever you want, just by the gallon. And of course he got his jug out and was going to give Uncle Henry, that was my uncle, a drink, and he thought it was whiskey. Really. So he took the jug and tipped it up, and it was alcohol. It could have killed him. That's such a time. But they could drink straight alcohol.
Yes, I know the old timers could. And I remember one time there was two fellas that came in a cutter and they had two horses. And they came over to see if they could buy a cow.
Yeah.
And it was in the evening, and they sat around and they brought in a big bottle, you know, of pure alcohol. It was clear, you know. And then, of course, they asked Mother if she would give them some warm water. They wanted some cups and some warm water, so they poured in water in the cups, and then they poured in a little alcohol, you see. And then they kept on talking, and Dad was sitting there, he was wondering what was going to be up, what was coming, what was this leading up to anyway.
That wasn't old N.P. Johnson.
No, it was Long John.
Oh, Long John.
Long John.
Yeah. Tell you those.
What?
You remember how he used to say, I'll tell you those.
I'll tell you those.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, they would be busy talking and discussing things, and they would drink some out of the cup, and of course then it went down a little bit, and they'd take the bottle and pour in some more. They'd fill up with it taken away, you see, when they drank.
Yeah.
So they kept on, and I was wondering, I was watching there, I was wondering what kind of stuff will that be by the time they get to to the bottom of the cup where it looks right.
It'd be pretty strong.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
So when they kept on for quite a while, and finally Dad says, oh, I guess we gotta go out and look at those cows. You know, Dad was pretty cautious. He wasn't drinking any of that stuff. He pretended he was, you know, but he was pretty careful. So they went down the barn, and I had to go down with an old lantern to light for them. So I lit the lantern, and I went down the barn, and I was afraid that they'd start a fire if they took the lantern down. So I took the lantern and went down. And they got down the barn, they looked the cows over, you know, and you had to get up to the cows and we pull them the tits and see if they were good milkers, you know, everything was okay. And he went to the wrong cow. Wham went the cow. And down he went in the gutter.
Yeah, it's like Butcher Johnson and Long John, they come over to look at the horse. Dad had a stallion, and Dad let him out of the barn. And the horse reared and kicked, and Butcher Johnson grabbed both hands on his stomach and run backwards and tripped his heels and fell down. Claimed that the horse kicked him both feet right in the stomach. And old Long John, he says he never touched you, Butcher.
Well, then of course they got disgusted. They weren't going to buy any of those cows or the pickers like that. So they out, and they had the horses standing outside, so they were pretty cold, you know. And they untied the horses and started off. Got into the cutter, and away they went. And we had some Carolina poplar trees that were growing by the house at that time. And one horse went on one side and the other horse on the other side. And then, of course, that stopped the whole procession. Wasn't anymore. So then they had to get untangled. By that time, they had sobered up a little bit so that they could get back on the highway again.
Coffee's hot.
Oh, Long John, you know, he gets all some awful stories. He'd tell how he killed a man up in Cloquet and his name was George Walker. You know, you, Ma said he never killed nobody. When he comes to this country, he's just a green big kid. But he'd blink his eyes, the Saline boys, remember, they could come to school and blink their eyes just like old Long John. I remember Elda and I had a driving team, we used to go to school, you know. And she rode all the time. Boy, one time Kenny Wilson, they used to go there by the cemetery and make that square turn, you know, it isn't like it is now. And boy, he had down too many logs and he rolled off some just there and I come around that corner and the horses see that and boy, they whirled right up in them pine trees, you know, tipped us out. But I hung on to them and they dragged us a little bit and I put them right into a bunch of pine that didn't break nothing, tipped the thing up. But boy, they done that so quick it upset that cutter. If they'd have whirled around, I hadn't put them right in them pine.
I wonder what these young people would think today with their cars and stuff. They had to go through what we went through. If we wanted to go any place, we had to walk, didn't we?
Yeah, and I pity a lot of them, the way it is now, boy. There's a lot of people that haven't got a job and you can't get along without money nowadays.
And money them days was the least of our problems, but because we didn't have any. I know.
Well, we didn't need any.
No, when I was a kid there, boy, if we'd go to a 4th of July celebration, if we got a quarter, that was a lot of money, you know.
Yeah, and I tell you, Hank, when we was farming, we didn't make a quarter a day, a lot of fellows didn't.
No. And I remember when Ray Kallenstein was working for us, that was, let's see, when was that about? Well, how old is Myrna? She was born on the turkey farm. It was a couple of years before that. And I paid him 50 cents a day, you know. We were taking out rock and stumps and working hard, you know.
And that was more than you was making.
Yeah, more than I was making. So it got to the time that I couldn't pay him that, and I told him one morning, Ray, I says, I don't have the money, I can't pay you no more. I says, you'll have to just quit because I need your help. Well, he says, Hank, I'll tell you, I'll work for you for nothing. So he stayed there all summer and worked for nothing. And I would give him, I would give him some milk.
He got milk and
Yeah,
butter.
I'd give him the milk
Pound of
because
butter
we
a
had
week.
milk. It wasn't worth nothing, you know.
Well,
I'd give him the milk, and then I had hogs we butchered, and I'd give him a piece of pork, you know.
If you want cookies, help
And,
yourself.
no,
My
I
goodness,
don't-
wanted to
I
have
don't
it for
dare.
that.
Anyway, and then I did
That's
make a
right.
deal with him.
You
I
don't,
said,
huh?
I'll tell you, whatever land we break, I'll give you that much next spring, what you can plant and raise a crop on it, whatever you get. So he raised potatoes and turnips and stuff to sell. And he sold them all around, not, we didn't get much for him, but he got a little. Poor Ray, he's gone now, isn't he? He died.
I imagine.
What was his name?
Ray
Ray
Kelly.
Kallenstein.
He lived over there where one of them Pose's lived, well, his dad did.
Then him and his, when he worked for me, him and his wife lived in Claire's house.
Yeah,
You remember Claire's
Yeah.
house there?
yeah.
Boy, that was pretty small.
He didn't charge him nothing for rent.
No, I
He
suppose.
couldn't have got it if he had it.
No, he didn't have any money.
Well, nobody did.
Nobody did.
What about farming, going down doing chores with no electricity?
Carried an old smoky lantern.
Yeah, I
People
remember.
can't imagine.
Remember John Olson used to come by there about 10, 11 o'clock, and he was always out at
Yeah.
night with his lantern looking to see how everything was.
Yeah, well, I tell you, he was milking and doing chores.
Yeah,
poor
doing
old
chores till,
John. Then lugged, what little bit of milk he got clear up to the house. Well, that's the way nobody could have a milk house. They had,
yeah, you
I
had.
guess you had your separator in the barn, but we
Yeah,
had ours
that's right.
now, so Olson's had theirs now.
And he had a cool cellar where he kept his cream down
Yeah,
cellar.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've done through the same thing.
And on the check days at Clear Lake Creamery, remember there'd be a row of horses clear up to the
Yeah.
water tank and they'd be talking. That's about the only way they got a chance to.
You had to go in and get your check?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you get
yeah,
it
they
from the
drove to town with teams and they'd stand around there. On check day, you see, they'd pay twice a month, 5th and the 20th, and they'd go to town with their little dab of cream and stuff, and then they'd talk and drive up and throw in their cans of cream into a little coop there that they had. In the wintertime, pretty doggone cold around there.
I remember
I-
sometimes when we were hauling, you know, sometimes when we didn't have big herds like they have now. And our check, I remember a lot of times would be $7, $8, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Then we had 4 children
yeah,
to bring up,
yeah.
and then we had our taxes to pay. and I
But
don't know-
school tax in that old school didn't used to be only $6, $8, and now on the same place it's probably $600, $800 or
Yeah,
more.
and I don't know how we ever made it. The Lord must have been with us.
Well,
We paid all our bills always. We never got no welfare.
well, I tell you, if Roosevelt hadn't scaled down the mortgages,
Oh,
they'd
yeah.
have lost everything.
Yeah.
That farm on the corner up there went for Harry Chelberg bought it for 2,100.
Yeah.
An old Mooney place. 80 acres, and our place wasn't worth over $3,000.
Oh.
Pearl Johnson's in 1941. They sold that for $5,000. That had a pretty good barn on it. That
Well,
barn.
even the Swanson place, how much is that?
Well, Anton Swanson offered that to me before Whitmer come on for
The
$4,500.
whole farm.
Yeah, the whole farm.
I think they even
Whit
sold it
and
cheap.
Quinny's been offering it for 119,000,
Yeah.
and they didn't even get that. But I guess they got our places appraised. They know just exactly if a fellow would die right in the thing. They got that appraised up here.
Yeah.
They know just exactly how much tax to charge on. They got us down, know more about us than we know ourselves.
Oh, yeah.